Well, we're
Do
live.
what?
So to do what?
Hello, everybody. We're live on our regular scheduled, non-scheduled creative sessions.
But
I'm happy to see our faithful audience.
this is part of what creativity is. It's adapting to things, and I'm just gonna do that. So I'm not got
Do I have
sunglasses on.
almost like the same style of glasses that go dark in the UV light?
I think
Obviously, I
so.
was not in the sun, so mine are not as dark, but they do go dark like yours. Do
Yeah,
yours
I love.
adjust?
Yeah, they do. They will adjust in a second. I love them.
I quite like it, and for this kind of weather, it's great. But for
It
indoors,
is.
I prefer my other normal pair.
So I'm gonna actually do my because we're not playing. I'm gonna go to my green screen, which is my wall.
Yeah, sorry about the last minute change of not playing in the end.
Don't worry. I still
So
haven't
are you
watched
on
the big.
midterm right now? That's why we're talking in the
I
middle of the
am.
week,
That's
right?
that is exactly why we're talking in the middle of the week. And I still haven't watched The Big Sleep yet, which is bad.
So funny. You're going to keep talking about this even after we manage to finish, if we manage to finish this thing, which we will.
We will
I
finish
like
it.
You are the person that I have the most regular opportunities to be able to do this game. I was supposed to play another online role-playing game session yesterday that got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
There was I think partly, and it's partly my fault and stupidly my fault, but not only, I don't know. Anyway, one person who is the game master sent a message that we communicate on Discord. Do you know, or are you on Discord?
I'm not on. Well, I set up an account and then never really used it.
Okay.
I couldn't see the what was so different. As far as I
You need to
understand,
be part of a group, otherwise there's nothing different about it.
But you can play screens. It's sharing screens. It's the thing, right?
What? No. What are you talking about?
Discord.
So it's a chatting app that started out and now is a little bit more community. It's a community-based chat application and service. Destined in the first place for gamers, but a lot of other interest groups have started using it particularly since the pandemic.
Okay, all right, I did.
So
I heard the kids talk about it.
It's just a waterfall chat system, but you also, what they're very good at is to have group voice channels.
Oh,
and they included video, which is a little bit wonky, but it kind of works.
Okay.
So typically, gamers might be on a voice channel, so they can speak together to coordinate their actions in, for example, their video game.
Yeah.
If they're playing video games, I am mostly on groups about tabletop role-playing games. And then there's a lot of other integrations. So, for example, the podcast that I participate in with my friend Julien, which is about tabletop role-playing games in French, is broadcast live and recorded via Discord. So I log on to the Discord conversation, and Julien manages everything to have it. It's broadcast and streamed to Twitch, to YouTube. Most of the conversation happens on Discord. I look at Discord. I don't look at the other things. Most of the audience looks at Discord. Mm-hmm. And then it's also recorded and republished as an RSS feed, a general podcast. But he's been like on the same style of us. He's been trying to find ways to streamline and make it as easy as possible for him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the easiest for him is to have the conversation live and then later put it on the podcast, but he sometimes gets late with that. And then I'm part of other channels that I more or less participate in, mostly less, aside from the couple of channels that I have as gaming groups. So they're servers, rather, is the term for Discord. Then I'm part of servers that are just general. So there's a server around the podcast that I participate in that I aside from when we're preparing for an episode and the live chat during the episodes, there's little activity on it. I don't pay attention. But then I'm part of another one that's about tabletop role-playing games that honestly I don't look at. But I pay attention to the gaming groups if I know there's something for me to pay attention to. And then there's a bunch of other servers I'm on that I don't really do anything. I was running one for my own gaming group at some point, but that's kind of like inactive at the moment because we're not playing. Why was I saying that?
You were saying because you and I.
Oh,
the
here's
only
why I was saying
regular
this.
opportunity-
I was supposed to have a game yesterday with that group, and it got cancelled.
Yeah.
First, one person said, and this group gets, I mean, it gets canceled pretty often, which is a little bit annoying. It's just life in general. The more people you have together, the more likely it is to have cancellations, I think, in general. And what happened in this case was one person said, actually, I need to work a little bit later than normal, so we're going to start half an hour late. No problem. And then I caught up on messages. I was busy with a bunch of other stuff with work. I had meetings with clients all morning. And I caught up and said, looking forward to seeing, I can't remember what I said, something like looking forward to seeing you. But what I did that I thought in hindsight may have been stupid is, and I'll check us back to our conversation, or we haven't set one, a topic, to say, I told them that on Tuesday, I pulled a nearly all-nighter to finish all my master's degree document and slept 3 hours the night before. And so then they sent a bunch of other messages that I missed because I was working, and I caught up and I saw that they basically said, oh, let's cancel then because you're going to be tired, which I didn't say that I was going to be tired. I just said, don't expect me to be amazing. And I was actually looking forward to play because I was all wired yesterday.
Yeah.
And we hadn't played in a while. So it's a gaming group that's supposed to take place every 2 weeks. But if something cancels for any reason, then it's a month. And if something cancels again, it's 6 weeks.
I remember you said, I think you said this last time we spoke.
Yeah, we did.
There's a few
Yeah, I
things
did
here
actually.
that, number one, I like the fact we have regular conversations and we're playing a game. And number two, I learn about tabletop role playing. I was walking by Forbidden Planet, the shop in London, and I saw Hero Quest.
Yeah, they just re-released it.
It looked really cool.
It's the same as the original. And by the way, if you know Forbidden
it.
Planet, the actual shop that has more games than role-playing games is across the street, or almost across the street, the Orc's Nest. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I didn't go in there.
One of the only shops left in London. The other one's in Finchley, and yeah.
Yeah, because Games Workshop used to be a thing, but that's kind of disappeared, isn't it?
No, it's still there. That's still big.
Is it? Okay,
I don't know. They must have retail outlets in London, at least one. I don't know where.
There used to be one relatively near me, but I've never been in there. Never thought about it. But I saw Hero Quest. I thought of you, and I was like, well, I do like learning about. But the two bits.
And Hero Quest is one of the things I started with. I mean,
yeah.
after fighting fantasy books, kind of.
Yeah, because the two bits of our conversation I like are, yes, we're talking about the role-playing games, and we're talking about and we're actually playing one, and we're talking about the creativity thing, because I finished reading a book that sounds remarkably similar to what you're dealing with the trying to get together once a month or once every 2 weeks, and then life gets in the way. I finished reading 4,000 Weeks.
What is that? That sounds interesting.
So I'm going to read Bullshit Job next, but the 4,000 Weeks is, I can't remember how I stumbled upon it, but it's a relatively easy read. It's 4,000 weeks is roughly how many weeks we have alive.
Oh, you did mention it a little bit.
And
it made me think, or you told me about the Wait But Why post about the number of weeks we have.
Yeah. So it talks a lot about that. It talks a lot about how modern life is.
By Robert Bosman?
No, Oliver Burkeman.
Oh, this is a novel about 4,000 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Is it 4,000 weeks or 4,000? What did you say?
4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman.
Well, there's a lot of 4,000 week titles. It's interesting. Oliver, how do you spell it?
Burkeman. Okay. Oliver Burkeman. He's you found it?
No.
He's
because it was written in all letters and not in numbers.
Oh, yeah.
If you write for like the digits, then you don't find the book. But you find other titles that have the same title with the digits. Time Management for Mortals. You love productivity and time management books.
Well, I didn't even see that subtitle. Yeah, I do. And this one, when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, it sounds like me. He's a productivity geek. And then because he's English as well, but lives in America, and I think he's a journalist. But the thing I liked about the book is that it's that creeping sense of, am I making the most of my life, or should I be doing this, or should I be doing that, or you can't optimize the hell out of everything because you just end up exploding.
But you also end up not living in the present regardless.
Which is
the questions you just asked are quite natural, and everybody asks questions like that of the kind at any point. But as soon as you're in that, you're not living.
Yep. And that's what he talks about. The whole
you're not living, you're always living. I mean, obviously, as long as you're breathing. Stupid. It's just, but it's not, but I think you got my point.
Yeah, I got the point. The difference between surviving and kind of living.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant you're not there.
So when
I meant that more from a meditation perspective on being present. When you're wondering if you're making the most out of what's going on, or I'm not living the life I should be living, I'm not producing or doing the things I should be doing, you're in your head and asking yourself, and it's only opening doors to feelings of negative feelings in general, mostly. Now you can turn those into positive energy or intention, but what I mean by that is those questions lead you down already just by asking them, down paths that are totally natural. I'm not saying it's not normal, right? But down to probably you're not doing the things that you should be doing. But then there's also living by an expectation that there is things that you should be doing. And regardless of wherever your head spins at that point, you're not there in your life at the moment. Now, it's a very meditation, being present comment.
Now, he talks about that, and that very thing you're saying, and how much that sense of everything has been accelerated. And it reminded me of the loss of free play that children have, how everything is moved from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. Everything is future based. You'll never you never get to mess around and enjoy, which is why us talking now is actually quite funny, because we don't really have an agenda. We're just exploring whatever we're exploring about creativity and ideas, and it happens to be.
And also because I really like talking with you, it makes a difference. It has a positive impact on my mood. I have great pleasure talking with you, sharing it with people, even if nobody's watching. So it's like dancing, the equivalent of dancing if nobody's looking. So we're talking about creativity, even if nobody's talking and listening. And what you just said on creativity and productivity is interesting, because we're so based in a society of everything needs to be leading to something, progress, productivity, and that it's all the way down to the schedule to the last hour of busyness. It also joins back some of the ideas from that lazy manifesto and busy, and or the book that you read, which I might be interested in reading as well, that I noted but I haven't read, on idle time or idleness. Can't remember what the title was. Do you remember reading a thing on the quality of actually stopping to do nothing for a while?
Oh, rest. Yeah. I think that's yeah. Although that
so anyway, so is that thing on 4,000 weeks, does it talk about the value of that as well, or it's also about
No, it talks about the value of not being driven, being in the moment, being present, but not trying to be present for the sake of getting to be present, but because then you're not, just like what you said. It's because if you try and be present, you're not present. It's that whole conundrum. But
and just to be clear on the conundrum, because you can puzzle it for a long time, and Zen koans do that. The only way to realize that you're not the way to get you back to being present is to realize you're not. And the practice of meditation allows you that. And the goal, now, the consequence or the effect is you're able to be present for longer periods of time, with the general assumption that at every waking moment, generally you're not present, because you're in the middle of doing something, because you're so even if you're you're in the zone and you're in actually. So I haven't read it. I need to read Flow, but
Yeah, me
now
too.
I'm thinking of something else. I'm branching out completely. So I'm still recovering from not sleeping a day ago, and I slept a bit weird yesterday. So my mind is all over the place. So, and it's going to be interesting because I have to focus on my students this afternoon because I have 4 hours in a row of examining oral
Oh, wow.
passages of exams. And tomorrow I've got 7 hours, which is going to be like that. I'll be wiped by the end of it.
We're on a double bank holiday here today and tomorrow.
Oh, because of the Jubilee.
Yeah, because
oh, that's what it is. Okay, cool. I
Jubilee.
messaged a friend and she said, "Oh yeah, it'd be great to talk because we're on bank holiday." And I forgot that's what it was. Of course, it's the Golden Jubilee.
Platinum Jubilee.
Platinum Jubilee. Sorry, platinum. Sorry. Of course. So, are you
70
celebrating?
years.
Are you going to any of the many events organized by the
Well,
royal family to celebrate Her Highness?
Her German inbrededness. No, I'm
Long living inbrededness.
True. We have bunting on our road. We're actually going to get, because our road.
What is bunting again?
Bunting is like a long piece of string with little bits of paper on it. So we've got we're actually going to get together as a street and have a street party. Now, because we're a dead end road, a cul-de-sac,
that's cool.
We can do that. And I'm looking forward to actually just meeting the other people on the street and having a proper chat instead of just walking by saying hi.
Oh, that's very cool.
Stop a chat. So that bit's really cool. The whole Jubilee stuff, I'm not really that cool about. I don't really care. But it does feel like it could be a little bit of community building happening on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Very interested to see how that goes in the conversations that we have. Davina's on a WhatsApp group of other people on the street. And there's all sorts of conversations going on about, yes, who's going to bake this, who's going to do this, and
that's great.
What's happening. It is really nice, actually.
Just to close the loop, because I abandoned my thought talking about flow. My point was, I'm mixing a lot of different things right now, but my point was, and if you can picture, and if you've seen the last Pixar movie called Soul,
yeah,
that talks about flow in part.
Yeah.
When you're in the zone, when you're doing something,
yeah,
you're not present. So my point was, it's not wrong to not be present. When you're in the zone, when you're in a state of flow, you're you're fully with the thing that you're doing. So you're fully present. But you're not. My point is, I think you're not present in the way that you're present with everything at the same time. So it's not. My point was, it's not wrong to not be present. It's just the normal state of things. So and it can be very, very productive to not be present when you're in a state of flow.
Right.
But I'm making a distinction between a state of flow, being in the zone with something, and being present or not being present.
Yeah. And who's the guy who came up with the idea of flow? I can never pronounce his name.
I didn't say it because I can't pronounce his name.
I can't pronounce it.
Mihail Csikszentmihalyi.
You literally tried. I didn't even want to try. Now, that kind of, the other point he makes in 4,000 Weeks is a point that's made in other books that I've read, which is reading is one of the most common ways that we experience flow, and kids don't read anyway.
You just reminded me that I wanted to ask all my students in their oral exams if and what they're reading, and I all want them to read Bullshit Jobs, but I forgot to talk about it in my first exam I just had now. I have too much things going on in my head. It's like one of those wired moments of ultra creativity, but there's so much going on. I can't get a grip on anything.
This is a lack of sleep thing.
It is. It completely is. Well, it's both the lack of sleep, but also like intense brain work to finish my master's degree write-up.
So is it done?
So the written version's done and been handed in, and I finished at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, well, Wednesday morning. I promised to give it on Tuesday. And it was funny. I was like, it's way too late. Maybe I should just leave it until tomorrow and read it again and ask for, like, tell them I'm going to delay it. And then I thought, no, tomorrow I have a lot of other work. Then I'm starting all my oral exams. And I was like, I had a fuck it moment and I just sent it out.
You just went for it. Oh, man.
And I was like, there might be couple of typos in there, but it's fine. Just fuck it. And I was really starting to go a little bit crazy on my list of sources at the end. And I spent an hour and a half probably at 4 a.m. Changing this is ridiculous. I'm embarrassed to say this. I would change the shape of all the quotation marks to make them into French quotation marks, or remove and like layout.
What's
and have
French?
Huh?
What are French quotation marks?
The French quotation marks don't look like the English ones. They look like double things like this.
Oh yeah, they do. Okay, yeah, I'm remembering now.
But I write with a QWERTY keyboard, and I was writing on Google Docs.
Yeah.
So there are two things that are really annoying in the French spelling and grammar.
Yeah.
And the way they're transcribed to the computer, and the way that I write with an American keyboard and a QWERTY keyboard that is not easy to get to, and even more so, those punctuation marks are not available at all on the keyboard on Google Docs. I have to go into the special characters menu.
And same accents.
So the one is the punctuation space.
Yeah.
So French adds punctuation spaces before question marks, exclamation marks, 2 points, what's it called? Colon, and semicolons. Colons and semicolons. So when I have colons, there's no space in English, but there's a space in French. But when I'm given I'm writing in a justified thing, it makes too big a space if you don't add the specific punctuation space that is a limited space. It's like a character. It's not breakable. So I changed all that. I had no idea. And then at the last minute, I was like, I need to change it's not acceptable. It's in proper academia. It's not acceptable to use the English quotation marks, but I don't think this is proper academia because it's a private school. But still, and for my own convention, I went through the whole document again because I had words in English and I was like, okay, I don't know what the right convention is, but I'm going to adopt one and keep it throughout. So what I did was make sure that I had quotation marks and the French quotation marks on terms that I deemed required quotation marks. And whenever I had a word that was in English, I put it in italics.
Okay.
And that seemed to make sense, but I don't know if that's the right convention. Anyway, I did that. And then I started going overboard with the list of sources and I stopped and I thought, okay, I'm just going to stop now. There's enough sources. And then I realized I wanted to add more references and I wanted to do more stuff, but I could have always done a lot more. And I was already at 196 pages and I thought, okay, I need to get done. And I need to move on. So, and to answer your question, that's been received and I heard it seems complete because I was like, I don't know if this is right at all. I have no idea. But the person receiving it said it looks like a complete document. Thank you. Wow. At the very least. And now the next step is I need to prepare a presentation for my oral exam in the same style as the ones I'm examining students for. It's different content, but it's going to be an hour long in front of a jury. And I need to have prepare a 30-minute presentation. And I need to confirm a few questions with the person at the school. I'm going to talk to them tomorrow, but presumably with the same goal of I have a list of all the skills that are required to earn the degree in 4 blocks, and each block has a bunch of different things. And then I need to convince the jury that I have the experience to validate that. And then there's going to be 30 minutes of Q&A.
Super.
So it's an hour long.
That sounds much easier than the writing.
No, it's not.
Oh, isn't it? Oh, okay.
No, because I'm completely crazy and anal and want to be creative with my presentation. So I added creativity in my write-up
Yeah.
After agonizing on how I should structure the whole write-up, I went in chronologically, inverse chronology. So I
Yeah.
went from the
Most
most recent
recent.
experience to the oldest
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wrote a nice and creative intro and the thing about a professional project and a conclusion, telling a story. So that was cute. I hope. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it would. I think I wrote things that probably I would have doubts about writing for academia, but then I allowed myself, knowing it's a professional communication crowd, hopefully. And also, I was hesitating and talking about Brother the day before because I've been working on this intensely for the past few weeks, and knowing that, like a proper student, doing it at the very last minute, cramming it all in, and then going, okay, I've done all this work. On one hand, maybe I should have it checked by other people so they can reread it and tell me what they think. On another hand, if somebody tells me this is wrong and you need to change everything, I'm not going to redo it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
yeah,
fuck it. I'm just gonna hand it as is and hope
Here's
that
what's-
it's the right direction.
here's what's
And
really funny.
Okay, so I'll let you say that, and then I'll finish my story in the conclusion.
So this is an 8-week plan of how I
Wow.
was going to follow each thing and get it done by the submission date for my lead practitioner certification. And mine's no way near as full on as intense as yours, but it's just interesting to notice the contrasting approaches. So mine, and it's not like I hadn't had to put everything together, a few last minute things. So we're on 2 bank holidays. I was emailing yesterday in the midterm break, other teachers asking for stuff. 3 out of 4 have managed to get back to me, which I think is really amazing of them to do that, because I needed quotes as testimonials as evidence for what I'm putting together. But really,
I didn't add any of that, and it might be to my disadvantage. I don't know, but instead I added actually a lot of bits of actual work that I've done. So I've compensated. It's part of the reason it's so long.
Yeah,
I've compensated with showing all the work, and I have less of actual letters from old employers and everything, because that would have been a hassle to go and find them.
I got a few snapshots I've taken, put it all together. The hardest bit is assembling the evidence in a way that matches each competency, and then having a write-up. So there's 10 competencies, 300-word write-up for each one. Done that. Then I have to reference each bit of evidence to the right competency, and there's one piece of evidence that can be used for multiple competencies, and it's a bit of
That's where I struggles with my experience. A lot of my experience could match all the different blocks of skills and competencies, but I had such a hard time trying to tell a coherent story. And back to your question, the presentation is an opportunity completely differently to, and I take this anally and very seriously on the creative side, to blow people away with the creative idea and the way that you're putting your presentation together thematically, rather than chronologically. And on the little story of my conclusion, I was getting to the end and I wrote my conclusion at 4 a.m. I left it to the last part. And I was like, I went through several times the whole thing. So I was like, well, it's actually quite ironic and interesting that I'm coming to the end of this whole bit at the moment where it is actually the beginning of my career. Funny enough, circling, probably kind of like making it into a looping circle, because this is studying again. But now chronologically, we're back into my studying time, which reminds me of when I took my baccalaureate, the end of high school exam in France. And what happened there is I was in what at the time, it doesn't exist anymore, but there was literally literature, science, and economic and social sections. You could choose one of the 3. And I was in the literature one, and philosophy was the major, like the most important discipline. And so you have, in the way the exam is graded, and I don't know if you have that in English, you must. Each discipline weighs more or less in your final grade. So some disciplines count for 1, 2, up to 7.
Okay.
So your grade counts up to 7 times. Sorry,
Because the English system is completely different.
probably no. I mean, I know it's completely different. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
So in France, so it's called a coefficient. I don't know if that's the same word in English. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's coefficient.
It's
so
depending on the weighting
exactly
of the subject, you get more marks.
The highest weights I had was philosophy with a weight of 7.
Okay.
So the grade in philosophy counts 7 times more than any other.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you screw up your philosophy, you're basically screwed.
Yeah.
And we're graded out of 20 points.
Okay.
So passing is 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Passing is considered good. It means you succeed. So an A is considered to be impossible. It's not. You can't get 20 out of 20.
Yeah.
It's only possible in something that does not. It might be possible in the same way that it might be something extremely, extremely improbable, right? You could only get a possible 20 on something where there's completely rational, like math.
Oh yeah, okay.
But if there's if there's wiggle room for interpretation, it's extremely unlikely you'll ever get a 20.
Yeah.
18 is the tops.
What did you get?
So, and I didn't understand much of philosophy. I thought I would love it, and I thought I was very proud of what I wrote for the dissertation for philosophy. And I was like, I think I finally got it. I finally nailed it. And when I had my results, it was actually 5 out of 20.
Wow.
So needless to say, I was fucking screwed.
Yeah.
So what I said, I summed that all up in only one sentence in the write-up. Basically, I said, well, I can't help but thinking at this point whether everything I wrote is completely wrong, like what happened with my philosophy thing, and I actually completely misunderstood the exercise there was to do. Now, luckily, or by miracle, who knows, it seems, at least at the baccalaureate stage, that I understood all the other topics and disciplines well enough that I still had my baccalaureate with a general average grade of 12 out of 20, which gives me a little distinction. Yeah. You get distinctions at 12 and 14. 14 is considered, so 12 is considered fairly good. You get a fairly good distinction. 14, good distinction. 16, very good distinction. So I needed a general average grade of 15 or more and everything else to get to 12 to make up for my 5.
Wow, you must have done well.
Now I did. All this was done. I had all the results at the same time. I had no idea how I did beforehand.
Now,
you can request. I was so disappointed. I requested to go and see the copy of my dissertation, the graded copy.
Yeah,
the actual paper. So, to pull it out of the archives, and I had to go to a special place, etc. And there was just a giant red cross across it with the letters HS, which means hors sujet, which is off topic.
Everything you're saying, from doing really well on the other thing, on all the others, which means to make up for the 5, which means you was really good at all the others to pull it up, to the philosophy beat off topic. Oh my god! I finished the conclusion. Basically,
I finished the conclusion basically saying something like, "Well, okay, I hope that even if there's something that is vastly off topic in this whole thing, the general thing I'll get the exam anyway, and I trust that, or I hope, or I trust. I can't remember what I said exactly. That I know more now about brands than I did about philosophy back in high school. And I hope you as a reader will agree, but we'll meet during the oral exam and you'll be able to ask me specific questions about it."
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That is so good. That makes complete sense. That's
what I realized much later, talking to my brother-in-law who has a master's in philosophy in France, that I had not at any point, and I changed philosophy teachers at school, and these are the things that in French school system, they don't explain to you, you're just supposed to know or have parents that explain it to you, or maybe you're lucky enough to have a teacher. I did not understand at all clearly that there are specific points, specific answers, and specific quotations, specific authors to answer back to specific questions of a dissertation. It's not like we're asking you your creative answer to the thing at all, or your opinion for that matter. So I knew it was not my opinion, but I never really understood that there was like, he was like, no, it's like they're not asking for your own interpretation. If they say freedom, or if they say there's a keyword or a couple of keywords in the question, and you're supposed to answer this, this, and this. I was like, I never understood that. I never understood that about studying philosophy in France at all. I'm
going to bring this together somehow by everything you said, because I know you got to go.
I need to go.
One of my colleagues went to Cambridge, Oxford or Cambridge, I don't know which one, super elite university in the UK, of course. And he says that you get people who, and he did philosophy, I think, actually. You get people who go to Oxford and Cambridge who think they know everything and question everything and do really well. Or you get people who think they know everything and completely bomb. And he said his tutor said he was like on the verge of being one of those people who think they know everything and we're going to bomb. And it just reminds me of that. You're so wildly creative that you're outside the paradigms of the French philosophy education system. That's how creative you are. And that's how I think you should position it. You're so out there. That's how creative you are.
So, and that's what I'm trying to ambitiously do for my presentation. I've been thinking, what kind of themes could I blow them away with? And just for the fun of it, honestly. One of my possible things, I'm thinking of maybe setting it against a theme of Inception, the movie.
Well, please, do it and let me look at a draft of it, please.
Yeah, it's going to be in French. I mean, the whole write-up is like nearly 200 pages. That's all in French.
Oh, okay. I did A-level French. I can't remember any of it.
And the presentation will mostly have images, but it'll be in French, and it's probably not going to have a lot of text. I'll see. I don't know. All right, I need to go. Sorry, that was a lot of me talking. I'm sorry.
No, but please send me a version of tell me your idea of what your presentation is. I'd love to help you with it.
I will do. Cool,
man. All right. Fun times.